Okay, good day everyone. It is 12 p.m. prime time Africa. Sorry we started a little bit late today. We've been having technical issues with network. So I welcome everyone today to another episode of SB Talks where we discuss topics related to the industry to help our members see the industry in a different way, to help them understand the industry and to also effectively bridge the gap between students and the industry. So today we'll be discussing basic refining process, and I have here Bobmanuel from Dangote Oil Refinery to discuss the topic here with us today. So I'll be inviting him up here to introduce himself and tell us a little bit of what we'll be discussing today. Good afternoon, Bob.
Hi,
Welcome
everyone.
to
Yeah,
yes.
good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Well, it feels good to be able to reach out to young aspiring engineers under the auspices of Society of Petroleum Engineers. I think the Lagos chapter or the Lagos section and the Obafemi Awolowo University chapter. My name is Bobmanuel Sepribo Nelson, like Ife has told you. And Bobmanuel Sepribo Nelson, Bobmanuel Sepribo. Sepribo is actually a very common name in this part of Nigeria, the southwestern part. However, I'm from the southern part of Nigeria. I'm from Rivers State. I schooled in Rivers State University of Science and Technology, which is currently just simply known as the Rivers State University, where I studied chemical and petrochemical engineering. And I currently work with Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals as a process engineer. Now, what are we talking about today? We are talking, the topic, as you can see, is basic refining process. So we're going to be finding out what happens, what goes down in the refinery. Now, the refinery is actually very humongous. It's very large. It's not something we can exhaust in a day. So even if I start talking now and we talk to the end of today, I'm not sure we exhaust the refinery. I dare say the refinery is inexhaustible. Notwithstanding, in the words of Whiskey and Thames, they say time is of the essence. So in that regard, we've been able to streamline what happens in the refineries in the periphery. So basically, we'll just be given an idea of what is going on in the refinery. How do we get these products? Every other day, some of us go to stations to get fuel, lights for our generators, for our what have you. How are these products gotten? How do we refine these products? That's what we'll be talking about today. And I said earlier, my name is Bobman Sepribo Nelson. Let's get to the crux of the matter. So now the outline for today, we'll be talking crude composition. Yes, this crude oil we're hearing about. What is it? What is crude oil? What is it composed of? We'll further go to distillation, which is the major and first process of crude refining. And then we go to the process units that are in the refinery. Those are the refinery process units, which are some of them are not limited to this. Anyways, I just give some basic units. We're talking about the crude, also known as the CDU. We talk about the saturated gas concentration unit, SAT gas, like we like to call it, SGCU. We talk about the vacuum distillation unit, the fluid catalytic cracking unit, the mild hydrocracking units, and the MX block. After we talk about the MS block, we'll give a summary and then now crude composition. What is crude oil? We hear crude oil every other day. That is one of the major sources of revenue for Nigeria, right? Now, the term crude oil is considered to be synonymous with petroleum. Now, if you look at the etymology of petroleum, petroleum is gotten from two Greek words, petra and oleum. Now, petra means rock, is rock oil, right? So, petroleum is believed to be products of decomposition of organic materials over a period of hundreds of years. Petroleum has probably started getting formed even before man, if care is not taken. But let's see. Let's find out what it is. So petroleum has come from decayed organic compounds over a period of years in three stages, actually. We have the first stage, which is we call diagenesis. Now, diagenesis is when we have this organic material starts decomposing, and they decompose and they form what they call petroleum precursor or crude oil precursor, which we call kerosene. Now, after a period of time with heat and pressure, kerosene metamorphizes into what we call crude oil. So after that, we have a last stage, which is what we call metagenesis. This is the final stage of crude oil metamorphosis. It now gets into real crude oil, and then we have associated gas. Now that's more for the petroleum engineers, but as chemical engineers, we're not really concerned about how petroleum is exploited. Our concern is how we refine this petroleum. Now, petroleum is chiefly comprised of hydrocarbons and some other impurities. As you can see on my first list, I have paraffins. Now, paraffins are straight-chained hydrocarbons. What hydrocarbons? They are carbon and hydrogen atoms, right? Fused together in some structure. So we have paraffins, which they have a general
Sorry.
formula of
Hello, Bob.
CnH2n plus 2. And they have a suffix of ane.
Sorry,
That is, they
Bob,
all
can you
end
hear me?
in ANE, ane. So, for example, we have the first one in the series as
Hello.
alkane, as well as methane. Rather, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, Bob. Your slide is on the last page.
Yes.
So,
On the last page, are you serious?
yes.
That's not the case here. So it's showing the thank you page.
Yes, yes.
Oh no, 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 that's not what should be showing. Give me a second. Give me a
All
second,
right.
please. Let me stop sharing and go back to sharing, please.
Yes, yes.
Excuse me. These are the technical issues we've been experiencing for a while. We should have started a long time ago, and gets all fired up. So I'm going to try to start to share my screen again.
Okay.
Okay. 1 second, please. Okay. Window. This. If I can you see my screen?
Yes, but it's loading, but I can see the window. Okay, great, great.
So I
It
am
is
I
here.
still on the am I on crude composition now? Crude
No, no,
composition.
you're
Is
on
that
the
what you can
first
see?
page. No, no, you're on the first page. I can see Ambassador Lecture Program.
Okay. What I see now?
Still on that page. Still on
What
the
I see
first
now?
page. It's still on the first page.
Oh my god. Okay. Stay again. Stay again.
Okay, it just moved, but it's
Stay
not on the
again.
second. I can. Okay.
Um, I think it's a matter of response time. Let me see again. Let me open the slideshow. What's it on? What can you see?
It's still on the first page.
What
Oh,
can you see?
okay.
I have ambassador lecture program on my page here.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's what I have. I move next. So I'm on outline. Can you see outline?
No,
Can you see the outline? I've moved to the next
no,
page.
no.
What can you see now?
Still on the first page.
What can you see? Just tell me what you can see. Still on the
Yeah, it's
first
still on the
page.
first page.
Okay. How about still on the first page? Hasn't moved.
Yes. Okay, you know what? Send me your slide. Let me share from here.
Okay, let me send it to you right about now.
All
Apologies to
right.
everyone listening. Well, we're in climes where we don't have as high speed internet as we desire, and those are the glitches we
Mhm.
experience. But we'll sort this out in no time, and we'll get to what we have to do. So give me a second. I'm going to share it to you via in 2 seconds. Just give me a second. Share. What's up? Okay, I have shared it to you. I have shared it to you.
Okay.
Check, please.
All right.
Okay, can you?
Yes, I'll get to it now. Um,
Okay, please.
Apologies to everyone.
Apologies, everyone, on the broadcast. We are going to sort it now, and then we'll move. And then, for the benefit of the back and forth, I will just start again because it's not really cool when we have information and there's a break. So I'll just start again to get everyone up to tabs. So, if you let me know when you can share, and let's move ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so put it on slideshow.
Slideshow, right? I shouldn't control
Yes,
it
please.
from here. Okay.
No, I want you to put it on the slideshow. Yeah, there are a lot of animations that need to be controlled.
Okay.
All right, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So just tell
go
me whenever
to,
you want me to go to the next slide.
yes, I will, but currently I can't see the slideshow. What I can see is still the first page.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yes,
slideshow
I'm on
yet.
the first page. Okay. I am on outline at the moment.
But it's not displayed on slideshow on my end. From what
It
I can
is.
see, it's not displayed on slideshow. It's just I can just see your PowerPoint window.
Yeah, I think it is. Yes, it is on slideshow.
Let's not waste too much time.
Okay, so can we get to
Let's not waste too
outline?
much time. Let's just proceed. We'll make do what we have. It's going to say again.
I said I'm currently on outline, so can we like start from outline?
Okay, let's start from here. Let's start from here. No problem. So the outline I said is crude composition, and after you know what? I will just open it on my other device as well, so that I could be able to sync in terms of my. Then I'll be telling you to open at the other side, so we can sync as well. Okay.
All right. Yes, yes, that
So
works.
presenting on this end, I'll open it from my other device so that I could get a sync. Yeah, so I could get a sync with my presentation, and then I'll tell you when to next the slide on your end. Okay.
All right.
So once again, apologies to everyone. This is not how we envisaged the session to be like. So I'm on the outline. Going back to that, I said we'll talk about the crude composition. We go to distillation, and we go to refining process units. We go to which are the CDU, which is crude distillation unit, the sad gas concentration unit, the vacuum distillation unit, the fluid catalytic cracking unit, the mild hydrocracking unit, and the MS block. We'll summarize and then we'll call it a day. So now going further, we have crude composition. If I please go to crude composition slide.
Okay.
Let me know. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I hope the audience can see. We could take comments from the audience. Let's be sure that they are in sync with us. So I hope they can see crude composition slide because that's not what I can see on my end. However, let's go ahead. So I said the term crude oil is considered to be synonymous with petroleum. And then I said petroleum is, if you look at the etymology of petroleum is gotten from two Greek words, which is petra and oleum. Petra meaning rock, and oleum meaning oil. So it's simply saying rock oil in Greek. That's how they fused petroleum to give us the name. I would say petroleum is believed to be a product of decomposition of organic material over a period of hundreds of thousands of years. Now, it goes through three basic processes, which is the diagenesis. Diagenesis is when we have this organic material decompose, right? And it decompose to get what we call a crude oil precursor known as kerosene. And after that, they go through the stage we call catagenesis, right? With effect of heat and pressure, we now form a more stable crude oil. And eventually, the last stage is what we call metagenesis, where we have our proper crude oil in association with gases. Now, crude oil is composed of hydrocarbons. Namely, we have paraffins. Now, paraffins are straight-chained hydrocarbons, right? And they have a general formula of CnH2n+2. They have a suffix that is common to all of them, ending with A and E. So, for example, the first in the series, paraffins are also alkanes. We also call them alkanes, anyways. And the first in the series is methane. So we have methane, we have ethane, we have propane, butane, and the likes. The next uh, part of crude oil or next composition of crude oil is the isoparaffins. Now, the isoparaffins are also like paraffins. However, they are just not of the same structure. They have the same chemical formula, but they are not the same structural formula. So they also have CnH2n as the general formula, but they are structured in different forms. And they don't start from methane as the paraffin start from. The first one in the series is isobutane, right? Because it's kind of branched. So we have three carbon atoms and one other carbon atom branched to get isobutane. We also have isobentane and the likes. Now, the next in the series is the naphthenes. Now, the naphthenes are also called cycloalkanes because of their cyclic nature, right? They are cyclic in nature. So we have isopentane, we have isohexane. Sorry, we have cyclopentane, we have cyclohexane, and the series goes all the way. Now, in this case, their general formula is CnH2n. That's what their general formula is, as opposed to the CnH2n+2 of the earlier compositions I said. Now, these ones are lacking in hydrogen. That's why you see that they don't have +2. So we have naphthalene as CnH2n. Another part of crude oil is the aromatics. Now, this aromatic is they get their name from their sweet smell. They actually smell nicely, and that's why we have them aromatics. So just like you say aroma when you're cooking, you say, oh wow, nice aroma. Yeah, that's where they get their name from. Aromatics, right? So they have a six structured base ring, right? The first form of them is what we call benzene, right? So they have, I'm sure from your elementary days or from secondary school and even in university days, you would have come across aromatics, benzene, toluene, xylene, and the likes. Now, we also have olefins as a composition of crude oil. Now, these olefins are very reactive. They are double bonded hydrocarbons. They are lacking in hydrogen, and because they're lacking in hydrogen, they use that to form a double bond. Now, these double bonded hydrocarbons are extremely reactive. So the tendency for you to find them in the crude oil is very high. very, very minimal. However, in units downstream in the refinery, like catalytic cracking units, we get olefins, right? We get olefins, but it's also a part of crude oil, but we chiefly get them in cracking units, like the flue catalytic cracking units, which we'll discuss as we progress. Now, we also have miscellaneous compounds, which we categorize into two. We have the oleophilic and the oleophobic impurities. We call them impurities. So the oleophobic impurities, now as the name implies, oleo. Remember I told you from the previous time, I said petroleum, oleum is oil. So oleo here also is still standing for oil. Then we have oleophobic. Now we know what phobia is, right? From our everyday parlance. Now phobia is fear. So oleophobic is simply saying fear of oil in this case. Now, so this miscellaneous impurities don't have affinity for crude oil. They are just associated by virtue of where the crude oil has been explored from. So we have them like salts. So for example, I get crude oil from a salty environment. There's a tendency that salt will be associated with the crude oil, right? And also crude oil is transported in ships, right? And then we know that the ballast of a ship helps to keep the balance of the ship. Now there's a tendency for salt water from the ocean to get into the ballast. And then when it gets into the ballast, it also can get into the crude oil that is stored in the ship. So we have salt. Also, we know that we are pumping or we are getting crude oil from the ground. There's also the tendency for sludge to be associated with crude. So together we call salts and this sludge, we call them basic sediments and water. So, but however, they can actually be separated from crude oil in a not so difficult manner. Physical separation, very possible, right? We also have the oleophilic impurities. Now, these ones have affinity for crude oil, right? It's more difficult to separate them. So we have things like metals, right? We have metals like arsenic, metals like lead, right? Now, we need to separate all these impurities because they are detrimental to our process. For example, I talked about salts. Now, salts, when they react with water, they will hydrolyze. And when they hydrolyze, they form acids. So, for example, let me say a chloride salt like NaCl and reacts with water. We know water has hydroxide ion that's negative and hydrogen ion. Now we find out that the hydroxide ion goes to the sodium and we get NaOH, while the hydrogen ion goes to meet chlorine, which is negative, and we get HCl. HCl is an acid. And then we know what the effect of acid is. Acid will tend to corrode the material of construction of our vessels. And then when it corrodes it, there's a tendency for failure. We don't want that in the refinery. That's why we have to take out all these impurities. So on the other hand, for metals, now these metals tend to attack our catalysts. For example, arsenic and lead, they attack a unit called reforming. They attack the catalyst, right? They go and they block the pore spaces or they deactivate the catalyst. We also have other metals such as iron, we have nickel and vanadium. Now, iron, nickel, vanadium attack catalytic cracking catalysts, right? We don't want all that to happen, so we have to look for ways to take out all these impurities. Other types of impurities we have naphthenic acid. Now, you know what acids will do, right? Naphthenic acids will also corrode our materials. We also have non-acidic oxygen compounds. These are resins, these are cressols. We have sulfur. Now, sulfur is foul smelling, right? If you check from your vehicle's exhaust, days in chemistry in school. Sulfur has a pungent odor. Is that not true? Now we need to take out this sulfur, and sulfur comes in different forms. We have sulfur comes as hydrogen sulfide, that's in association with hydrogen. We have sulfur come as mercaptans in association with hydrocarbons, right? And we also have thiophene. So we need to take out all these sulfur. We also have nitrogen, nitrogen compounds. All of them are detrimental to our process. So we need to take out all these impurities before we can process crude perfectly. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now we'll talk about the first and most important part of the refinery, distillation. Now, if you look at the diagram by the side of this slide, if you have you gone to the next slide, please? Are you on the distillation slide?
Yes, I am.
Are you there? Are you on the distillation slide? Let me go
Yes,
ahead.
yes,
I'm
I
sure
am.
network. Distillation is from a liquid mixture by using selective boiling and condensation. So I have a mixture of alcohol and water. Now, alcohol and water boil separately. They don't have the same boiling point, right? Now, I can take advantage of the fact that they don't have the same boiling point and separate them. So, for example, alcohol boils at 60 degrees Celsius, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So, if I have a mixture of alcohol and water and I want to separate, I could just boil up to 60 degrees Celsius, right? And I'll have alcohol vaporize. Water will still be in the liquid phase. Alcohol will vaporize. I'll catch it at the top of whatever vessel I'm using to distill, condense it and have my pure alcohol. And water remains in the vessel as residue, right? So that's how we take advantage of the difference in boiling point to separate. Now, distillation hinges on the difference in relative volatility of individual components of a bi-component or multi-component mixture. Now, the example I just gave is a bi-component mixture of alcohol and water. Now we can have multi-component mixture as in crude. So in crude, we don't just have two components, we have several components. So we can separate them using multi-component distillation. Now, distillation is a unit operation. In other words, there is no chemical reaction whatsoever. It is just entirely physical, right? Distillation is entirely physical. No chemical reaction is involved. Now, this brings us to our refinery process unit. If at this point I'll need the slide to be working in synchrony with my talking. Are you there?
Yes.
The refinery process unit slide. Refinery process unit slide. The next slide.
Yes, yes, I'm there. I'm on that slide.
Technical issues. Okay. Technical issues have standing. We'll be able to navigate. So I want. Are you on the refinery process unit slide? That's counting from the first page. Please go to that slide.
Yes, yes, I am.
Now, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am.
So I want you to go slide. Refinery process unit. Not distillation. The next slide after distillation.
Yes, that is where I'm on.
So we go ahead. Refinery, right? Is the preliminary unit. It's called the crude distillation unit. Now, prior to my to getting a job at the refinery, I felt, yeah, when we get oil, we just send it to distillation column like we learned in BSc days, and then we just distill. We get products at the top, we get products at the side, gasoline, whatnot, blah blah blah, and everybody goes home, right? But guess what? refinery, I understood that the only thing I knew was that I knew nothing, and the refinery was deeper than I thought. Right? So the crude distillation unit is the preliminary unit. We use distillation, and then we focus so much on Raoult's law, which I will explain as we go further. Now, we charge in our crude. First of all, for us to distill, we need to heat up the crude to a certain temperature. We need to heat up the crude to a certain temperature, a temperature range of about 315 to 385 degrees Celsius. Now, how do we even heat up this crude? The crude goes through series of exchanges, heat exchangers. Chemical engineers, we understand what heat exchangers are. It goes through series of heat exchangers and eventually goes to a fired heater, right? Where we take advantage of using fuel gas or fuel oil to heat up the crude in tubes in the fired heater. So we heat it up all the way to 315 through 385. Now we're very careful about the temperature of crude oil, that it doesn't exceed 400 degrees Celsius. Why? If it exceeds 400 degrees Celsius, we'll experience a phenomenon we call thermal cracking. Now, thermal cracking is, yeah, okay, fair enough, fair enough. I wish you could actually display it on slideshow, but notwithstanding, let's go ahead. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I would have loved for you to display it on slideshow, but seems that's not really possible. Seems that's not really possible. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Now, I said at the okay. Now, on the crude distillation unit, we send in partially vaporized feed. Now we've subjected the crude oil to heat, right? And then we charge the crude oil into the distillation column at the middle of the column. Not the middle per se, but somewhere close to the middle, right? We call it the feed zone. Now, distillation begins. And we know that for distillation to occur, we need vapor and liquid traffic. Vapor going up and liquid coming down. That's the phenomenon. We need that to happen. Now, we can get liquid traffic. Since we are sending at the middle rather, we can get liquid traffic by what we call reflux, right? The vapor at the top goes up and then we condense and we send some as reflux. I'm sure we're all aware of that phenomenon. And then we get liquid traffic at the top of the column all the way down, right? But at the bottom of the column, we need vapor traffic. Now, from our preliminary days in the university, you would have understood that every distillation column has a reboiler. That the reboiler helps for the reboiling and provision of vapor at the bottom so that distillation can occur. But in the case of the crude distillation unit, we do not use a reboiler because we are scared that we might heat up the crude beyond 400 degrees Celsius. And then if it goes beyond 400 degrees Celsius, thermal cracking will occur. And if thermal cracking occurs, we will have cracking such that we have carbon atoms separate. And carbon is black, right? So what happens if thermal cracking occurs? We have that all our products will be black. All the products we get from our crude distillation unit will be black. column will tend to be black. And that's not the desire. We don't want that. We don't want black stuff. So what do? We now use the idea, right? Now we know that for a fluid to boil, there are two things that can be done. Now it's either we increase the temperature, right? So say I want to get a cup of coffee. I take my water, I put it on fire. I put, say, maybe 1 cup of water in the kettle, and I put it on fire, right? I turn on the gas. What happens? The temperature of the water begins to increase, right? Begins to increase till it gets to its boiling point, right? Now, what's happening is that the water has a vapor pressure, right? Now, as the temperature increases, the vapor pressure of that water is also increasing. So it increases till it surmounts the atmospheric pressure. Now, atmospheric pressure is acting against the vapor pressure to keep it in the liquid phase. So atmospheric pressure is acting against vapor pressure to keep it in liquid phase, whereas the vapor pressure is trying to liberate itself. It's trying to push against the atmospheric pressure so that it can become more vapor. Right? Now, with increase in temperature, the vapor pressure continues to increase. As the vapor pressure continues to increase, I'll have my liquid boil. So I could boil the water by was simply what increasing the temperature. But that's not the only way I can boil water. Right? There's another way I can boil water. If the pressure acting against the water is lower than the vapor pressure, automatically the water will boil. So for example, I have water that's at 30 degrees Celsius and atmospheric pressure is acting on it to keep it in liquid phase. If I'm able to reduce atmospheric pressure to be below the vapor pressure of that water, even at 30 degrees, the water will boil. Right? So all I can do now, I can play around with pressure or temperature. So I could boil a fluid either by increasing the temperature or by reducing the pressure acting against the fluid, trying to keep it in liquid phase. Good. So that's what we tend to do in the distillation column. To increase the temperature beyond 400 degrees Celsius, we can reduce the pressure, right? Either reduce the pressure acting against it, or we can increase the vapor pressure. So for example, if the vapor pressure is, say, let me just give arbitrary values. Say I have a vapor pressure of 5, right? And an atmospheric pressure that's acting against it of 6. If I increase the vapor pressure to say 7, it's now greater than the pressure acting against it, right? And automatically that water begins to boil. Or if I have a vapor pressure of 5 and a pressure acting against it at 6, if I find a way to reduce the pressure acting against it to say 4, automatically that fluid will boil irrespective of the temperature. So that's what we do. Now, in the distillation column, what we do is that we add steam at the bottom of the column. Right? Now, the steam does not increase the temperature. What steam does is it increases the vapor pressure. Now, if you cast your mind back to Raoult's law, right? Raoult's law says what? That the partial pressure of a volatile component, a mixture, right, is simply what? The mole fraction multiplied by the vapor pressure of that component. So for example, I have alcohol and water. The partial pressure of alcohol will simply be what? The mole fraction of alcohol in that mixture, right, times the vapor pressure of alcohol normally. So I have a mixture of 60% water, 40% alcohol. Automatically, what's the mole fraction now? water? 0.6, right? And then what's the mole fraction of alcohol? 0.4. So if I want to get the partial pressure of water, I'll simply say what? 0.6 times the vapor pressure of this thing. If I can see it on slideshow, I think it's perfect now. Just stay put. I'll tell you when to click on the slides. Stay put. Good. So, like I was saying, if I have that, then I could simply say the partial pressure of water is simply what? The mole fraction of water times vapor pressure. So what we do by injecting steam, we are going to increase the vapor pressure, right? And then increase the vapor pressure, we tend to get the pressure above atmospheric pressure, and automatically boiling will occur there. But temperature will not increase. So we solve the problem of increasing temperature, which can lead to thermal cracking, and then we are still getting what we desire. That's what we've tried to explore there. So distillation column uses steam at the bottom as opposed to reboiler because to thermally crack it. Now, at the top of from the distillation column, we get a couple of products that still go to other process units where we have to refine them properly before they can become sellable products. So now, if you check at the top of the column, we have the vapors go out. Now, the vapors go to a unit where we call the SAT gas concentration unit, as is being displayed now on the slideshow. Right? Now, the SAT gas concentration unit helps us to separate. Now, we know that hydrocarbons range from carbon atom, one carbon atom, C1, C2, C3, all the way to, say, I think it's innumerable. Like it gets all the way to C100 and beyond. C1, C2 is what we call refinery fuel gas. It's very difficult to compress. That's why it's not sold to the general public. It's actually a gas at ambient temperature, and then it's difficult to compress and make it liquid and sell. So we use it within the refinery to fuel our heaters, right? We burn it in our heaters to generate heat for heating processes. We don't sell that. So what the SAT gas conversion unit is trying to do for us is to help us separate C1, C2, which is refinery fuel gas, from LPG. Now, LPG is C3, C4, but it's chiefly C3, propane. At the time you hear propane gas, that's LPG. So LPG is chiefly C3, right? In the South Gas Concentration Unit, we try to get LPG, we try to get refinery fuel, and we try to get what we call stabilized naphtha. Right? Display this slide, please. So now, in the South Gas Concentration Unit, we get finished products as cooking gas. I think nowadays everybody uses cooking gas as opposed to get LPG, just get a small cylinder and light it up, as opposed to getting kerosene that smokes, where you have thread and everywhere is chaos, right? So that's the first product we get from the column. It goes up to South Gas Concentration Unit and we get LPG. Now, the next drought, which is a side drought from the column, is naphtha. Now, what is naphtha? Now, naphtha is, I'm sure prior to now, a couple of people thought, oh yeah, we draw gasoline from the column, but that's not the case. So your premium motor spirit that you buy from your fuel station is not exactly drawn from the column. We draw a precursor from the naphtha, or a blending component for gasoline from the column, which you call naphtha, right? So naphtha is non-flammable and it needs to be further processed before we can get it. Now, gasoline, right, is not a single product, it's a blend of several products. We have a couple of products. I'll keep that on pause, right? So I'll explain this unit before I now tell you what gasoline comprises. So now, the naphtha goes to what we call the MS block. Now, the MS block is comprised of three subunits. We have the naphtha hydrotreating unit. If you recall, when I explained liquid composition, I told you about some impurities, right? I told you about sulfur, I told you about nitrogen, and I told you that these impurities are detrimental to catalyst. I remember telling you vividly that arsenic and lead are detrimental to catalyst. Yeah, this is where reforming catalyst. Yeah, this is where reforming occurs. So the MS block comprises naphtha hydrotreating units, continuous catalytic regeneration platforming, or they also call it the reforming unit, and isomerization unit, also known as the PEN-X unit. Okay, so now, first of all, in this MS block, we go to the naphtha hydrotreating unit. We need to treat, we need to remove sulfur, we need to remove nitrogen, right, by action of hydrogen. Now, if hydrogen reacts with sulfur, we get hydrogen sulfide, right? So hydrogen has been able to take off sulfur from our feed. If hydrogen reacts with nitrogen, we get ammonia, right? So hydrogen has been able to help us take off nitrogen from our feed as ammonia. So we now have naphtha that is free of those impurities. It now goes to the CCR unit, which I call the continuous, or which we call the continuous catalytic regeneration platforming unit, also known as the reforming unit. Now, what do we intend to gain? What do we intend to achieve in this unit? We are trying to restructure. Now, let's cast our mind back to internal combustion engines. I'm sure you'd have heard, this is good gasoline, it has high octane number, right? Let me explain what that is about. Or you hear mechanics say, Oga, Omo, your engine don't knock. What does that mean? What does that even mean? When they tell you the engine has knocked, and you say, waiting for the engine to knock, you say, now bad fuel where you buy. Trying to speak in Nigerian parlance so it will be relatable. So the mechanic tells you, Omo, Oga, you don't buy bad fuel, oh, the engine don't knock. What does it even mean to say the engine has knocked? It's probably that the crankshaft has broken. And how does this happen? Right? Now, in internal combustion engines, we have what we call a four-stroke cycle. Right? We have our gasoline uh, being taken into the chamber. So in the internal combustion engine, we have a piston that is in a cylinder, right? And then we have spark plugs. Now, the piston moves up and down, linear motion, right? But that linear motion is converted to rotary motion for the shaft. How do we convert the linear motion to rotary motion for the shaft? The linear motion is converted to rotary motion via the crank, right? So that movement of the piston up down is converted to rotation of the shaft by virtue of the crank. Good. So what we intend to achieve is that linear motion. And how do we get that linear motion? By combustion, right? So there is there's a synchronization that happens in the engine such that the engine first takes a stroke. They call it intake stroke, right? It allows for air and fuel to come into the cylinder. When air and fuel comes in, so at this point when air and fuel comes in, the piston is going downwards, right? Air and fuel comes in, the piston begins to go upwards. As the piston is going upwards, it's compressing the air and fuel up to a point where it gets to which we call the top dead center. So at the top dead center, it encounters the spark plug. Now the spark plug ignites. When the spark plug ignites, it generates an explosion. Now that explosion, chemical energy, hits the piston downwards immediately, and then it pushes the piston downwards, and the movement continues, the linear motion continues. So when it pushes the piston downwards, we call that the power stroke, right? And by inertia, the piston will automatically continue moving up, down, up, down. So, and it goes to the final stroke, which we call the exhaust stroke. So after combustion occurs, we know we have what we call flue gas. Flue gas is the product of combustion, say CO2 and what have you, right? So we need to take that out. That's why you see your car, something like smoke coming out of the exhaust. That's what we call the exhaust stroke. So the piston out the exhaust from the cylinder in the fourth stroke we call the exhaust stroke. So I said the first stroke is the intake stroke where air and fuel comes in. The next stroke is the compression stroke where it compresses, the piston compresses the air and fuel that has come in. After that, we have the what power stroke, where the combustion energy pushes the piston, right? And then we have the exhaust stroke, where the flue gases that are generated in the cylinder are sent out of the cylinder, right? Good. So that helps to keep the motion of the piston, and then the motion of the piston helps us to keep the shaft rotating. It's the rotating motion that we actually need. Now, but here's the thing: if a fuel, there's a tendency for a fuel to auto ignite, right? So if I have a fuel somewhere, right? If the fuel gets heated up, there's a tendency for the fuel to auto ignite on its own. When the temperature begins to increase, I don't need any spark, it will just auto ignite, right? So what we try to do in the MS block is we are trying to make the fuel resistant to auto ignition. Now let me tell you what happens if the fuel auto ignites. Normally the piston is trying to go up to get to the spark plug for spark to occur and the combustion process to happen, right? But the fuel on its own is tending to ignite by itself. So we have, and when the fuel ignites, we know that there will be a downward push on the piston. So the piston is trying to go up, but the fuel has ignited on its own and is trying to push the piston downwards. So we have opposing forces. Piston is saying, yo, I have to get to the top dead center as I've been instructed to. However, combustion has already occurred even before spark, and that combustion engine is pushing the piston downwards. So the opposing force is trying to break the crankshaft. And then when it breaks the crankshaft, that's when we say the engine has knocked, which is not something we desire ever. Because when an engine knocks, that's like going to cost you a whole lot. So what we do in the MS block, or particularly in the continuous catalytic regeneration platforming unit, is we are trying to restructure. We're trying to restructure naphtha, right, to have a structure that it will not auto ignite. Now, what we do This is what we now call the octane number. Trying to restructure it, we are trying to increase the octane number. How do we even come across the concept octane number? So we noticed that isooctane has resistance to auto ignition. It's a perfect it has perfect resistance to auto ignition, right? So it was used as a yardstick. So we notice isooctane has an octane number of 100, and this is like the yardstick. So we now try to say, oh, let us make this stuff to have a structure that is resistant to auto ignition in comparison with isooctane. So what we aim to do is, one, get isoparaffins from this unit, because isoparaffins have good tendency to resist auto ignition. And two, we try to get aromatics. Aromatics also have good tendency to resist auto ignition. So several reactions happen in the continuous catalytic regeneration unit, where we restructure. So that's why we call it reforming. So I have a strong carbon coming, and I tend to reform it. Right? Remember I said paraffins are isoparaffins. Paraffins are straight chained, right? But isoparaffins are branch chained. And then we know that when the chain is branched, it's more difficult for it to auto ignite. So in CCR, what we try to do is either we try to make our feed into aromatics, right, which have good resistance to auto ignition, or we try to branch it, right, and make it isoparaffins, which also has good resistance to auto ignition. I don't want to make it clear so I don't confuse you. So basically, the aim here is to either you make it aromatics or you make it isoparaffins. Then we have the last unit in this block, which we call the PENEX. Now, PENEX simply means pentane hexane. Now, pentane is C5, right? There's no way we can make C5 aromatics. You know, the base for aromatics is 6 carbon atoms. Is that not true? So there's no way I could burn 6 carbon atoms or 5 carbon atoms into 6 to form the ring. So I cannot make pentane an aromatic, but I can make pentane an isoparaffin. So I now take it to the isomerization unit and branch it out. So I now make it maybe isobutane or whatnot by branching it out, or isopentane rather. Good. Now hexane, on the other hand, has the 6 carbon atoms that can form a ring, can give me an aromatic. But the only aromatic it can actually form is benzene. Now benzene, on the other hand, is carcinogenic. That is, it has the tendency to give cancer. So what we have to do is, we cannot convert hexane to benzene because we don't want benzene. So rather than do that, we'll simply just branch it out and have isohexane, which will also have good octane number. Is that clear? So C5 and C6, we isomerize them in the PENEX unit. Whereas from C7 upwards all the way to C11, gasoline range material is from C5 to C11. So from C7 all the way to C11, we send it to the reforming unit where we can make it aromatics. So eventually we get gasoline blend properties. So from this unit, remember I told you that gasoline is like a cocktail. Gasoline is not a single product. Gasoline is a blend of several products. Now, from this unit, we get blending components which we call reformate and isomerate. Now, reformate you get from the CCR unit because we've reformed it to give us aromatics, right? Why isomerate? We've isomerized, we've branched out the chain so that they have more resistance to octoignition. So we call them isomerate. So the two blending compounds we get for gasoline here are reformate and isomerate. Now we have other blending components for gasoline, which we get from the FCCU. It's light FCCU gasoline, and we have heavy FCCU gasoline. We also have ethanol as a blending component. We also have alkylate. That's a unit I will not be talking about today because it's quite make things very complex, so make it cumbersome. We also have another blending component. I've said there are about 7 of them. Reformate, isomerate, alkylate, RFCC. We have RFCC heavy, ethanol, and then we have C4, which is butane. So we blend this together in certain proportions before we get what we call gasoline. So every other day you go to the fuel station to fuel your car or to buy fuel for your generators, your small generators at home, and you buy gasoline. Know that today that gasoline is not a single product that we draw from maybe the crude column. Gasoline is a blend of several products from several units in the refinery. Now that's about gasoline, that's about the MS block. Now let's talk about the next product drawn from the crude distillation unit, kerosene. Now kerosene does not have so much of commercial value now again, because I think a lot of people have swung to using LPG. Like I think even the rural areas just try to afford a little bit of camp gas, and they just fill it up with LPG and they do their heating and cooking at home, right? However, in the really rural areas, I think they still use kerosene for lighting their lamps, for cooking their food with kerosene stove. Good. Now kerosene, when it's drawn from the crude unit, it goes to a unit we call the Merox unit. Now the Merox unit, what does Merox mean? Means mercaptan oxidation. Now if you remember when I told you about crude composition, I talked about sulfur, and I said sulfur exists in three phases. We have sulfur exists as hydrogen sulfide. We have sulfur exists as mercaptan. Now this is where we attack the mercaptans in a process called mercaptan oxidation. So Merox means mercaptan oxidation. So we try to take up those mercaptans by a process called oxidation. I will not want to delve into that so as not to make it cumbersome. So what we do simply want to take out the sulfur, make it purified, right? And then we get kerosene that can be sold. Now, also what you should know is that kerosene is jet fuel. Kerosene is exactly the same thing as jet fuel in terms of composition. However, for jet fuel, we have just a little more stringent specification. It's the same thing, but just a little more stringent specification. We're concerned about the water content, we're concerned about the smoke point and all for jet fuel. for it to be jet fuel. Hydrocarbon range for kerosene and jet fuel. So, for example, in the Merox, for me to get jet fuel, it just goes through two other processes, right? Two other filters. We call them the clay filter and the salt filter and what have you. So we just further purify it before we can consider it jet fuel, because you know that we don't want any impurity in jet fuel because this is at height. If anything happens, say for example, if your fuel in your car actually has a problem, there's still hope that you might survive. Maybe you just drive and just hit a tree, probably sustain an injury, right? But imagine if something happens at altitude in the plane, and as a result of the fuel, it's a crash, and a good number of persons will die, right? So kerosene is jet fuel. It's just that it has more stringent specification. So, like I said, we get kerosene, it goes to the kerosene Merox unit, and then from the kerosene Merox unit, we get jet fuel, which sell. Now, the next draw out is what we call LGO and HGO. We call LGO means light gas oil, and HGO means heavy gas oil. Now, in some refineries, light gas oil just goes to a unit we call DHDT. DHDT simply means diesel hydrotreating unit. Okay, diesel hydrotreating unit. Now, but in some other refineries, we have light diesel and heavy diesel combined together and go to a unit we call mild hydrocracking unit, MHCU. Okay, so it depends on the case or depends on the configuration of the refinery. You can either go to light gas oil, will go to maybe diesel hydrotreating unit, or heavy gas oil will go to MHC unit, right? But basically, what you should know that light gas oil and heavy gas oil are components of diesel, right? So we send both of them. Like from my slide, what I've done is we've sent both of them to the mild hydrocracking unit. What we do in the mild hydrocracking unit is that we try to convert, we try to simply just correct the specific gravity of the diesel to meet specification, right? And then as we're correcting the specific gravity, also the mild hydrocracking unit makes derivatives of hydrogen. Now, hydrogen helps us to take away impurities such as sulfur, impurities such as nitrogen, and all other impurities in our diesel. And then when we are able to do that, we crack lightly so that we can get right specification, excuse me, and then we have our diesel which we use in our trucks and what have you. Now, the bottom of the barrel, right? Now, this bottom can be considered waste at this point, but one important thing for an engineer is optimization, right? How can we get the best use effectively of our stuff? So this stuff, if I have so maybe say a refinery just has a crude distillation unit, doesn't have a downstream unit for the bottom product, that bottom can be used is actually quite less, but it's a low value product. The best we can do is that we can blend it with diesel and sell it as bunker oil for ships, but we will not be getting good margins for our refinery, right? But why not take it to other units where we can actually make good use of it and get into more valuable products? And that's why we have the bottom of the column go to the unit we call the vacuum distillation unit. Now let's cast our minds back. Remember when I said earlier that we can what? Boil stuff by what? Either right? Or reducing the pressure acting against it, or also increasing the vapor pressure, right? That is what is happening in the vacuum distillation unit. We are reducing the pressure acting against it. So the unit is operating in vacuum that is less than atmospheric pressure. Now you find out that things that should be boiling at higher temperatures will be boiling at lower temperatures because the pressure acting against them is less. So for example, remember we said we cannot increase the crude beyond 400 degrees Celsius. So we don't actually also increase it here. We just send it to the VDU, right? But we try to be smart about it. We now reduce the pressure acting against it so that those products that boil beyond 400 degrees Celsius can boil and we can recover them, right? Rather than just having them as waste or mixing them with diesel and selling as bunker oil that will give us low value, right? So we send it to the VDU and the unit operates under vacuum. We create vacuum ejectors. Not something I want to delve into because I won't want to make things cumbersome. So we operate the unit vacuum, right? And because of that vacuum, we're able to boil some other higher factor, right, at lower temperatures than they will normally be. So when we do, we get a good product from here, which we call the light vacuum gas oil. We get the heavy vacuum gas oil and the vacuum residue, right? But more importantly, the light vacuum gas is what is most valuable from this. So now that light vacuum gas oil, we send it to the unit we call the cash cow of the refinery. The cash cow of the refinery. This cash cow of the refinery this is where we get the most value for money, right? Now it's CCU, the fluid catalytic cracking unit. Now let me cast your mind to something. Now think about palm oil. Everybody has palm oil in the house, right? Like me, I have palm oil because I like to cook beans.
Okay, I think there's something wrong with his network, and I'll try to get in touch with him. Okay, please stay tuned. All right. Yes, we
Um,
can continue.
I think I had a technical glitch. Ife, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You let me turn off the mic of your other screen. Okay, yes, so I can hear you.
Good. I had a technical glitch. Sorry about that, viewers. Okay. Back to what we were talking about. So please, can you display the slide? Let me see. Can you
Yes,
mute my
it's
other
already on
account?
display.
Okay. Okay. Back to what I was talking about. Sorry. So you can hear me, right? I'm waiting to see the slide so I can continue. Apologies to everyone. That's what happens in a space where we don't have high speed internet.
Okay.
I need to see the
So,
slide. If you
can you
can,
hear me? We
can you put
can
it on display?
continue. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please kindly put the slide on display. Let me continue.
No, all right, all right. I think you have to do that from your end. I'm coming.
I have to do it from my end. I think I it's just the last slide. Will be done in a bit. Sorry, everyone. We'll be done in a bit. Just get this done and over with. Oh, are you making any progress?
Yes,
Are you making any
check
progress?
the private check the private comment section.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see what I can do on my end. Let me see what I can do on my end. Okay, sorry everyone. Let's if I'm going to have to
Okay, sorry for that. Let's wait a few minutes. He's going to rejoin.
all right, I'm back in. Apologies to everyone. Apologies to
Yes,
everyone.
welcome back, sir.
Let me see if I could put back the slide. Let me see if I could put back the slide up. Let me see if I could put back the slide up. Okay. Okay. Can you see the slide?
Yes, yes. I'm just waiting for it to load. You can turn
Okay,
off
can you see
your
the slide?
camera as well to improve the network quality. Yes, the slide is loading.
Okay, I'm actually also loading on my end. Yes. So what can you see currently? What can you see currently? It's still loading.
It's on the summary page.
Can you see anything now?
Yes, yes. The slide is on the summary page.
On the last slide, summary.
S-
Okay. All right. So let's proceed. Apologies. Almost there. What can you see now?
It's still on the summary page. Are you there, sir?
It's still on the summary page.
Yes, yes. But I think we can just go ahead from there.
Okay. Let me work with that. Let me work with that. So give me a few seconds. Few seconds. Apologies to everyone. Sometimes things just don't go entirely as you envisage them to go. But notwithstanding, learning must take place and we must proceed. We are at the tail end of today's presentation, so let's just round it up. So if you can see, if you can still see the summary page, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Clearly.
you
It's
can,
there.
right?
Yes, yes.
Can you see the summary page?
Yes, I can.
Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Good, I'm
Yes, I
here.
can
I'm here.
see
I believe you
the.
can see the summary page.
Yes, I can.
Or nah.
Yes, I can.
See what's displaying. What page on the summary page is it? Uh, this is going to stress the life of me. But basically, let's just go on. I'll just say what I have. Okay, I'll just say what I have from here, so I don't waste too much of our time. Now, so in summary, I said crude oil remains a viable source of energy for man's daily needs. Now we've heard about the advent of so many other sources of energy, like renewable energy is actually coming to the fray now. But I can assure you that probably our generation would not see off the use of crude oil. We'll still be using crude oil because crude oil is a major source of energy. So I said the refinery is set up to process crude oil, separating it into its various products, while taking out environmentally unfriendly impurities. Now, some of the products of the refinery, as we've emphasized today, are liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, which is our cooking gas, our regular cooking gas, at home. We said kerosene,
Okay, so I think the network is not being fair with us today, so let's just wait for him to get back. Thank you very much for waiting. Please prepare your questions as well. We'll soon finish this session, so ask as many questions as you can, and we'll be happy to reply everyone. Please bear with us. The network is really, really, really bad today. Thank you very much.
It's been crazy stuff with the network. It's been crazy stuff with the network today. It's been crazy stuff with tech. Like I said, it seems like the gods of tech are not entirely on our side. But
Yes,
notwithstanding,
yes, they're not playing it fair.
yeah,
But
we
yes,
can
go
take
ahead, sir.
questions. The gods of tech have not been fair today. Yes, if we can take questions, if people have questions. I hope
Okay, yes.
everyone's, regardless of the glitches, and understand what I said.
Yes, personally,
Yeah, if
yes.
I didn't have any question anyway.
We still have viewers. So yes, it was a really enlightening session. Me personally, I did not know that there is this much to refining. We just look at it from the very basic distillation point of view, where we just separate them. We did not all we've not encountered this detailed explanation of the whole process, and it was even very interesting for you to take it to the internal
Yeah.
combustion engine. The intake stroke, the compression stroke, the power stroke, and the exhaust stroke. Those really make a lot of sense, and now I really understand how knocking works, and the importance of the octane number or the octane rating of the fuel you put into your car. So it
Okay.
was really
Yeah.
enlightening for me, and I was able to understand. Okay, so this is the way we remove impurities. Using hydrogen to remove sulfur in form of mercaptans, to remove nitrogen. And the although the penex, I would still go, or I'll probably talk to you more to talk about all these other units that we have in
And
the,
Penex. Okay.
yes, in
Okay.
refinery. Yes, and not only the penex, the
Okay. Fair enough.
other units, the one for kerosene, the Merox,
Cheromerox.
sorry, the Keromerox.
Yes.
So yes, so and all that, it was really enlightening, and um
Oh, we have lost him. We'll find him. We have lost him. We'll find him. But it just makes me feel. I feel good. He was able to get a good grasp of what I have been saying in the last 1 hour or thereabout. I feel good. I feel happy that I could get that feedback from listeners. So I want to believe that everyone else that was on the broadcast was able to get a thing or two. While we wait for Ife before we close the session,
yes,
I
yes.
think he was
So
about to come back, but the network got chased him again once.
okay,
Ife,
can you hear
are
me
you
now?
back?
I'm back on. Yes, yes.
Okay, Ife is back. Ife, take us on.
All right. Yeah, so and
Yeah.
this interesting part. So I did not know about this refinery fuel gas you were talking about, C1 and C2,
Okay.
and you said
Yes.
they can't be compressed. Is there any particular reason why? Is it a thermodynamic thing, or is it a physical
So they
property?
are they are they are they are gases at very very low temperatures. So even up to very very low temperatures, they are still gases. Do you understand? And then what's the
Oh,
ambient
so they
temperature?
can be. Oh
Yes,
wow.
they can
Okay, ambient
actually
temperature
in a
is
cryogenic process. In a
exactly
cryogenic process, that is
cryogenics.
sub-zero process. Yes, sub-zero process. Yes, they can become liquid, but we don't have cryogenic environments, right? Do you get it? So the tendency for them to ignite is really high. So it's risky. Do you get me? So, for
Okay, so
example, ambient temperature is about 25 degrees, right? And
yes,
then
yes.
refining fuel gas still exists as a gas, and before it can become a liquid, it has to be really, really low, and you have to compress really, really high, right? The tendency of the vessel you put it in over pressurizing and exploding is high because you have to put it at very, very, very high pressure for it to remain as a liquid in that vessel, right? And it's just not feasible because these vessels will be handled by every other person. What's the safety? So these safety concerns, if not, they can actually be compressed to liquid at very, very high cryogenic processes. Is that clear?
All right, so yeah, yes, that works. So in the
Okay.
refinery, so they are just stored in normal gas tanks, and they are just reused in
So
heating.
they are not. Yes, they are used in heating. Good. They are stored in, say, bullets. We call them bullets, and they were used in heating for our fuel, for our fired heaters. They go to a header, and then from a header they are channeled to furnaces where they are required. Okay.
All right, great, sir. So for
Any other
part of
questions?
the yeah, part of, you said we are talking about the bottom, so you were making a bottom barrel joke,
Yes.
and uh
Yes.
so those waste product at the bottom, so do they go to, plastics? Do they go to heavy do they go to lubrication? Do they go to, what's the use case if we are not further extracting um
So if you
these
are not
petrochemicals
further
that we extract?
extracting that, good. If you are not further extracting it, we just have to do away with it. It's waste. So you look for the best way to dispose it, because at that point it's waste. Or at best, you can blend it with diesel and sell it to ships as bunker oil, which you will not get so much value for. Do you get it? So it's better
Yes,
off that
sir.
we can create another unit where we can process it. So it goes to the vacuum distillation unit where we can distill under vacuum. So we can recover. And then furthermore, it goes to cracking units where we can crack those heavy stuff into lighter, valuable stuff. Is that clear?
So I think the network is
Did you hear me?
no, no, sir, it went off for a while.
Okay, I'll go back. I'll say again. I said if we don't take it to downstream units where they can be further processed, right? We tend to, the only thing we can do with it is probably dispose it or blend it with diesel and sell it as bunker oil. And that will not give us good value, right? So instead of that, what we can do is take it to vacuum distillation where we can distill it under vacuum so we don't risk cracking it thermally. And then after that, we can now send it to the FCCU where we can now make those very heavy stuff into lighter stuff that are more valuable. But if we don't do that, it's going to actually be useless. It will just be disposed. We can't get any value for it. Does that make sense now?
Yes, sir. So how is it disposed safely? Where is it sent to?
So that is why it is not disposed. So there's no refinery currently operating that does not have a provision to further process it. Do you understand? So maybe back in the 40s, 1940s, when it was still coming into, technology hasn't developed. Yes, they probably would have just disposed it. And there were not so much environmental concerns. But now there's no refinery that doesn't have a process to handle the bulk of the barrel. There is no such refinery currently existing. Did you get that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because yeah, I wanted to
Yes.
ask, because we have to really consider the environment these days. So
Exactly, exactly. So no refinery will dispose the bottom of the barrel to the atmosphere. No way. They must have either a VDU or some refineries have a unit called not FCCU now, they have RFCC that can process the bottom without vacuum distillation, right? So it must have a VDU. It must have a unit to process the bottom of the barrel. That's very compulsory.
all right, sir. So
Because
are there
you're not going to make profit, Seth. Because if you only sell what we get from the crude column, you're going to be in a loss. You're not going to hit your margins. It's not going to be possible. So why are you doing a charity business? Are you just getting crude for? Are you what will I say now? Are you just doing it for the fun of it, right? No, you're not doing it for the fun of it. You're doing it to make money, right? So you must process till you get the maximum margins. So nobody will throw away the bottom of the barrel.
all right, sir. So these processes are how is the level of pollution? Is say for example now in Dangote refineries or in in a basic
Just use any other
refinery.
refinery. I won't want to answer any question about Dangote refinery. Just use any other arbitrary refinery. Go on, ask your question.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, in a basic refinery, or in an arbitrary refinery. So how
Good.
do we manage the level of pollution from each of these processes, and how do we also manage carbon emission?
Good. So we have what we call flaring. Okay, we have what we call flaring. Basically, what are the pollutants that we get? Gases, right? basically gases. So we get gases like H2S, hydrogen sulfide, which we call acidic gases, right? We flare them. How do we channel them to a flare system where we burn them? We burn them till all we'll get is carbon 2 oxide. Do you understand? Carbon 2 oxide is not exactly a pollutant. In as much as we have the talk of global warming and whatnot, however, it's still a lesser devil. Is that not true? So we have to burn all these gases till we just get the products of combustion, maybe CO2 and oxygen and what have you. So that's how we do it. We make sure we burn them and in the flare system. So we channel all those gases through headers, through pipelines, and they're channeled to a flare. And in the flare, they are burnt, right? And what we send to the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. Okay, is that clear? Carbon 4 oxide, rather, not carbon 2 oxide. Carbon 2 oxide is still poisonous. Carbon 4 oxide, CO2.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, sir. Yes, that is very understandable, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Any other question?
So I can't see any question here from people watching. Please drop questions if you have any question. So I think we'll just wait for say a minute to see if we'll get any question, and if we do
Okay.
not,
Okay.
then
That
we'll
would be
have
fine.
to round
That
up.
would be fine. Yeah. So some people might have questions. Maybe they have internet issues or one thing or the other. You could they could search me up on LinkedIn with my name, and feel free to hit me up any other time. Send me messages on LinkedIn and be like, "Yo, okay, yeah, I attended this session and blah blah blah. I have a few questions." I'll be more than glad to answer questions. Okay, so those in your chapter, you could send a communique to them and let them know that if they weren't able to ask their questions in the live session, or they attended the live session and maybe had network issues and they want to ask questions, they could always chat me up on LinkedIn and ask their questions. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. People can always rewatch this session as well. It will be there on YouTube,
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, yeah, fair enough indeed.
so
Fair
they
enough.
can always contact you. It could even be 3 months after from now. People can always contact you.
All right. Just let them know that I'm always available to answer the questions.
All right. So in the
So,
absence of
in the
none,
absence of any, yeah.
yes, sir. So your farewell message, sir, or your
Okay,
final
well, it was
comment.
great. It was great talking to you guys. However, the tech gods were not on our side. I really wished for a very smooth section. When I prepared my slides, I had some really cool animations that I would have loved to display. Well, the tech stole that away from me. But notwithstanding, I hope we're able to get what was important, which is the information, right? All the paparazzi from tech were not able to be displayed, but the information was still passed regardless. So, basically, my advice to you guys is keep learning, don't stop learning, keep exposing yourself to the chemical engineering space or the petroleum engineering space or where you find yourself. And, well, you get there, right? We are all still progressing. I'm still learning every other day, and I'm still trying to become a better person. So, and like I said, feel free to reach out to me when you want to on LinkedIn, precisely. Yeah, if a couple of them might make it to my WhatsApp, but definitely not all. So, I'll be in touch. See you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, that brings us to the end of today's program. I hope we all enjoyed it. Personally, it's one of the best. I had a lot of fun learning, and I'm very happy to know a lot going on in the oil and gas industry. So um we'll have the next one next week, Saturday, same time by 12 p.m. So until then, goodbye everyone. Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye.